Have you ever felt the sting of your children's silence, as if the love and sacrifices you poured into raising them have faded into the background? It's a quiet pain, one that creeps into your heart when calls go unanswered, visits become rare, or their words lack the respect you deserve. You might wonder, what did I do wrong? But here's the truth. You are not alone, and this moment doesn't define your worth. In this video, we're sharing 8 powerful, heartfelt steps to reclaim your peace, rebuild connection, and live with unshakable dignity, no matter how your children treat you. Watch until the end to discover how seniors like you have turned hurt into hope, transforming their relationships and rediscovering joy in ways that will inspire you to take the first step today. Before we begin, I would appreciate it if you like this video, you can help me continue to spread the old age lesson. If you haven't subscribed yet, I recommend you subscribe and turn on the bell so you don't miss any videos. If you like this video, please comment number 1. If you don't like it, comment number 0 to let me know, so I can make a better video for you. Now let's get started. 1. Hold your heart steady. Don't let anger win. When your children's indifference stings like a betrayal, the instinct to react with anger can be almost irresistible. After years of sacrifices, sleepless nights, endless encouragement, and unwavering support, their silence or distance can feel like a personal affront. How could they treat me this way after everything I've done? You might think. But anger is a cunning thief. It robs you of your inner peace, clouds your perspective, and drives a deeper wedge between you and those you love. Instead of letting fury take the reins, choose a different path. Pause, breathe deeply, and allow the storm of emotions within you to settle. Consider the story of Clara, an 82-year-old grandmother who had spent decades nurturing her family. She taught her daughter to ride a bike, bandaged scraped knees, and stayed up late soothing her through heartbreaks and life's uncertainties. Yet, as her daughter grew into a busy professional with a family of her own, Clara often found herself staring at an unanswered phone, her calls and messages met with silence. One chilly evening, after another unreturned call, Clara's heart burned with frustration and hurt. The urge to leave a sharp, accusatory voicemail was overwhelming. Words like, "Do you even care about me anymore?" hovered on her lips. But something stopped her. Instead of giving in to anger, she stepped out onto her porch, letting the crisp night air cool her racing thoughts. As she sat in her favorite rocking chair, Clara closed her eyes and let memories wash over her. She recalled the joy of teaching her daughter to balance on that wobbly bike, the pride in her eyes at her high school graduation, and the quiet moments they'd shared over tea. In that stillness, Clara realized something profound. Her worth wasn't tethered to a single phone call or her daughter's current busyness. She was a woman who had lived fiercely, loved deeply, and still had an abundance of wisdom and warmth to share. This reflection didn't erase the hurt, but it gave her clarity. The next day, instead of a harsh message, Clara sent a gentle note. "I was thinking of you today and those bike rides we used to take. I'm here whenever you're ready to catch up." That small act of grace opened a door. Over time, her daughter began calling more often, their conversations warming with shared memories rather than strained by blame. Lesson: anger is a natural response to hurt, but it's a destructive force that pushes love away. When you feel dismissed, take a moment to pause and reconnect with your inner strength. Reflect on your worth, your years of love, resilience, and growth, and approach the situation with calm and compassion. A steady heart not only preserves your peace but also creates space for healing and reconnection. 2. Rediscover your spark. Find a new purpose. When your children drift away, whether due to their own busy lives or emotional distance, it's easy to feel as though your world has contracted, leaving you adrift in a sea of loneliness. The role of parent, once so central to your identity, may seem to fade, and the void can feel overwhelming. But what if this moment of disconnection is an invitation to rediscover yourself? Instead of waiting for your children to fill the emptiness, seize this opportunity to ignite a new passion and reclaim the vibrancy that is your birthright, no matter your age. Take Maria, a 70-year-old widow whose only son had moved across the country for work. His visits were rare, and their phone calls had dwindled to brief, perfunctory check-ins. Maria felt invisible, her days stretching out in a monotonous haze. She missed the lively chaos of raising her son, the sense of purpose that came with being needed. One afternoon, while flipping through a local community newsletter, she noticed an advertisement for a choir group seeking new members. Though she hadn't sung since her school days and her voice felt rusty from years of disuse, something stirred within her, a flicker of curiosity. Hesitantly, she attended a rehearsal. At first, Maria was self-conscious, her voice trembling as she joined the group. But as weeks passed, she found herself losing herself in the music. The harmonies, the laughter, and the camaraderie of the choir rekindled a spark she thought had long faded. The group became her second family, their shared passion filling the emptiness she'd carried. She started taking voice lessons, practiced breathing exercises, and even began writing her songs, pouring her life's joys and sorrows into lyrics. One evening, her son surprised her by attending a choir performance. As he watched his mother sing, her face radiant with joy and surrounded by new friends, he was struck by her transformation. "Mom, I had no idea you could sing like that," he said, his voice thick with awe and pride. That moment marked a turning point. His visits became more frequent, not out of obligation, but because he was drawn to the vibrant, inspiring woman his mother had become. Lesson: a life infused with purpose and joy is magnetic. When you invest in yourself, whether by picking up a paintbrush, tending a garden, volunteering, or joining a club, you reclaim your vitality and create a ripple effect. Your children and others will be drawn to your light, not because you demand their attention, but because your passion and fulfillment are irresistible. Embrace this season as a chance to grow, and watch how it transforms your relationships. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 1 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 3. Speak from your heart, not your hurt. When you feel ignored or sidelined by your children, the temptation to confront them can be powerful. The questions swirl. Why don't you ever call? Don't you care about me anymore? These words, born from pain, often spill out in moments of frustration, but they rarely lead to the connection you crave. Instead, they build walls, creating defensiveness and distance. The antidote is to speak from a place of vulnerability and love, sharing your feelings with gentle honesty. This approach is like opening a window in a stuffy room. It lets fresh air in, inviting closeness rather than conflict. James, a 75-year-old retired mechanic, knew this struggle well. His son, now in his 40s, had become increasingly distant, consumed by a demanding career and young children. Months had passed since their last meaningful conversation, and the silence gnawed at James. He felt like a forgotten piece of furniture in his son's busy life. His first impulse was to call and demand answers. "Why can't you make time for me?" But he'd seen how accusations had strained other relationships in his life, and he didn't want to risk that with his son. So, one evening, after much thought, James sent a simple text. "Hey, son, I miss hearing about your life. The good, the bad, all of it. I'm always here when you're ready to talk. Love you." There was no blame, no ultimatums, just an open-hearted invitation. To James's surprise, his son called a few days later. He admitted he'd been overwhelmed with work and parenting, and the guilt of not staying in touch had made it harder to reach out. That small, loving message had cut through the noise, reminding him of the bond they shared. Their conversation wasn't long, but it was warm, filled with stories of his son's children and a promise to call again soon. Over time, those calls became a regular part of their lives, rebuilding a bridge that had nearly crumbled. Lesson: words carry immense power. They can wound or heal. When you feel hurt, resist the urge to lash out. Instead, express your feelings with kindness and vulnerability. A message rooted in love rather than pain invites connection, creating a safe space for your children to return to you. Speak from your heart, and you'll pave the way for deeper, more authentic relationships. 4. Draw a line with love. Set healthy boundaries. When you feel ignored or sidelined by your children, the temptation to confront them can be powerful. The questions swirl. Why don't you ever call? Don't you care about me anymore? These words, born from pain, often spill out in moments of frustration, but they rarely lead to the connection you crave. Instead, they build walls, creating defensiveness and distance. The antidote is to speak from a place of vulnerability and love, sharing your feelings with gentle honesty. This approach is like opening a window in a stuffy room. It lets fresh air in, inviting closeness rather than conflict. James, a 75-year-old retired mechanic, knew this struggle well. His son, now in his 40s, had become increasingly distant, consumed by a demanding career and young children. Months had passed since their last meaningful conversation, and the silence gnawed at James. He felt like a forgotten piece of furniture in his son's busy life. His first impulse was to call and demand answers. "Why can't you make time for me?" But he'd seen how accusations had strained other relationships in his life, and he didn't want to risk that with his son. So, one evening, after much thought, James sent a simple text. "Hey, son, I miss hearing about your life. The good, the bad, all of it. I'm always here when you're ready to talk. Love you." There was no blame, no ultimatums, just an open-hearted invitation. To James's surprise, his son called a few days later. He admitted he'd been overwhelmed with work and parenting, and the guilt of not staying in touch had made it harder to reach out. That small, loving message had cut through the noise, reminding him of the bond they shared. Their conversation wasn't long, but it was warm, filled with stories of his son's children and a promise to call again soon. Over time, those calls became a regular part of their lives, rebuilding a bridge that had nearly crumbled. Lesson: words carry immense power. They can wound or heal. When you feel hurt, resist the urge to lash out. Instead, express your feelings with kindness and vulnerability. A message rooted in love rather than pain invites connection, creating a safe space for your children to return to you. Speak from your heart, and you'll pave the way for deeper, more authentic relationships. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 2 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 5. Be the light. Lead by example. Respect is not a commodity to be demanded or a trophy to be won. It's a living legacy cultivated through the quiet, consistent power of your actions. By embodying kindness, patience, and grace in every facet of your life, you become a radiant beacon of the values you hold dear, illuminating a path for others, especially your children, to follow. Your behavior speaks with a resonance that words alone cannot match, shaping how you're perceived and leaving an indelible mark on those you love. To inspire your children to become people of compassion and integrity, you must first live those qualities yourself, showing them that true strength lies in unwavering goodness, even in the face of disappointment or neglect. Your actions, like sunlight breaking through a storm, can transform relationships and plant seeds for a legacy that endures across generations. Henry, an 80-year-old Vietnam War veteran, carried a lifetime of resilience in his weathered hands and warm, hazel eyes that seemed to hold the weight of 1,000 untold stories. His modest clapboard house in the sleepy Midwestern town of Willow Creek was a sanctuary of memories. A faded photograph of his platoon on the mantel, a shelf of dog-eared novels he'd read to his late wife, Clara, and a patchwork quilt she'd sewn during their early years together. Henry had raised his 3 children, Ellen, Mark, and Sarah, with a steady hand and a heart full of love, teaching them to fish in the nearby creek and to value honesty above all. But in recent years, he felt a growing chasm. His children, now adults with demanding careers and families of their own, visited less often. When they did come, their attention was fractured, Ellen scrolling through work emails, Mark distracted by his phone, Sarah's mind on her children's schedules. The disconnect pierced Henry's heart, tempting him to voice his hurt or retreat into the solitude of his quiet home. Instead, he drew on the resilience that had carried him through war and loss, choosing to lead with love. Each visit, he greeted them at the door with a smile that crinkled his eyes, his voice warm as he asked about their lives, their promotions, their children's school plays, the small victories and hidden struggles. He listened with the patience of a man who knew the fleeting nature of time, sharing stories of his own, rebuilding his first car in the 1960s, comforting a frightened soldier in Vietnam, or dancing with Clara under the stars. When his 80th birthday passed without a call, card, or visit, the silence stung like a winter wind. Yet Henry refused to let bitterness take root. At his kitchen table, lit by the soft glow of a single brass lamp, he wrote each child a birthday card, his hand steady despite the ache in his joints. "You mean the world to me," he wrote, "and I'm always here, no matter how far you roam." He tucked small tokens into each envelope, a pressed wildflower from his garden for Ellen, who loved botany, a vintage coin for Mark, who collected them, a tiny sketch of the creek for Sarah, who'd once painted there with him. Over months, his unwavering kindness began to melt the frost of distance. Ellen called one evening, her voice softer, asking about his stories. Mark lingered after a visit, helping with the dishes and laughing over old memories. Sarah brought her children one crisp autumn evening, their laughter filling the house as they played checkers with Grandpa. "I want them to grow up with your heart," Sarah said, her eyes glistening with gratitude. Henry's light had not only rekindled their bond but planted seeds of compassion that would bloom in his grandchildren, a legacy of love forged through his example. Lesson: respect is a harvest reaped from the seeds of kindness you sow with intention. By living with grace and leading by example, you create a legacy that draws love and connection back to you, transforming relationships with the quiet, enduring power of your light. 6. Stand tall. Stay financially independent. There's an unshakable dignity in standing on your own, particularly as the years deepen the lines on your face and the wisdom in your heart. Financial independence commands respect, not because of wealth or extravagance, but because it reflects your strength, discipline, and inherent self-worth. Relying on your children for financial support can strain even the strongest bonds, shifting love into obligation and dimming the mutual admiration that defines healthy relationships. But managing your affairs with foresight and resilience sends a resounding message. You are capable, self-reliant, and worthy of reverence. This independence becomes a cornerstone of your legacy, inspiring your children, peers, and community to see you as a pillar of strength and a font of wisdom, proving that dignity is not measured in dollars but in the courage to stand tall. Eleanor and George, both in their mid-70s, had woven a rich tapestry of life together in their sprawling suburban home in Oakwood, a neighborhood alive with blooming roses and children's laughter. The house, with its creaky hardwood floors, a dining room that had hosted countless family gatherings, and a garden where Eleanor grew prize-winning dahlias, was a testament to their 50-year marriage. But as maintenance costs soared, leaky roofs, rising property taxes, and their energy waned, they faced a pivotal choice. They could have turned to their two children, both successful professionals, for financial help. Instead, they leaned on the self-reliance that had defined their early years, when they'd saved pennies as newlyweds to buy their first car. With careful deliberation, they sold their home, spending weeks touring apartments before choosing a sunlit, one-bedroom unit in a vibrant community called Maple Grove, complete with a communal garden and a cozy library where George could indulge his love of history books. They sat together at their new dining table, a small oak piece they'd kept from the old house, and crafted a meticulous budget. Eleanor, with her sharp mind for numbers, tracked every expense in a leather-bound notebook, while George, ever the optimist, scoured local markets for deals on groceries and negotiated lower rates on utilities. They prioritized essentials, healthcare, groceries, a small emergency fund, while carving out space for simple joys, a monthly dinner at their favorite diner, where they shared pie and memories, or tickets to a matinee at the local theater. Their children, Lisa and Tom, initially worried about the transition, but were awestruck by their parents' resolve. At a family barbecue in Maple Grove's courtyard, Lisa, a financial planner, watched her parents navigate a conversation about rising costs with ease, their laughter mingling with the clink of lemonade glasses. "You two make it look so effortless," she said, her voice thick with pride. Soon, Lisa and Tom began seeking their advice. Lisa on retirement planning, Tom on saving for his daughter's college fund. Their community took notice, too. Neighbors in Maple Grove, from young families to fellow retirees, began turning to Eleanor and George for guidance, dubbing them the wise elders of the complex. At a community potluck, a young couple asked Eleanor for budgeting tips, while George shared stories of frugal ingenuity from his youth. Their independence wasn't just practical. It was a living testament to their enduring partnership and strength, elevating them as role models in their family and beyond. Lesson: financial independence is a powerful declaration of resilience and dignity, transcending mere money to embody your strength and self-worth. By managing your resources with wisdom and foresight, you inspire admiration and become a beacon of wisdom for those around you. If you are still watching this video and finding these lessons useful, please comment number 3 below to let me know that you are still watching this video with me. Thank you for your valuable time. 7. Forgive, but never forget your worth. Forgiveness is a transformative act, a sacred gift you give yourself to unshackle your heart from the weight of resentment. When your children hurt or neglect you, choosing to forgive allows you to step forward, free from the chains of bitterness that threaten to anchor you in pain. But forgiveness is not a surrender of your value or an acceptance of mistreatment. You are enough, no matter how others treat you, and your worth shines brightest when you live with purpose, joy, and an unyielding sense of self. By holding fast to your inner light, you not only heal your wounds but also inspire those around you to see your radiance, creating space for reconciliation on your terms. Sarah, a 77-year-old artist, had always found solace in her small studio perched on a bluff in the coastal town of Seabreeze, where the air carried the tang of salt and the cry of gulls. Her paintings, bold seascapes with waves that seemed to crash off the canvas, vibrant portraits of neighbors and friends, abstracts pulsing with emotion, were extensions of her resilient spirit. Each brushstroke was a defiance of life's hardships, from losing her husband a decade earlier to raising her son, Daniel, alone through lean years. But a quiet wound had grown in recent years. Daniel, once her closest confidant, had drifted away. Their long walks along the shore, their late-night talks about art and dreams, had faded into silence. His calls stopped, leaving a void that echoed through Sarah's days. The pain threatened to dull her creative fire, tempting her to retreat into hurt or demand his attention. Instead, she chose to release the burden. One stormy afternoon, as rain pattered against her studio's wide windows, Sarah sat at her worn wooden desk and wrote Daniel a letter. "I forgive the distance between us. My love for you is steady as the tides that shape this shore." The act of writing was like a brushstroke, releasing color onto the canvas of her heart. She returned to her easel, painting with a ferocity that surprised even her. Canvases of crashing waves under stormy skies, sunrises bursting with golden hope, faces that held stories of resilience. Her art became her sanctuary, a testament to her unyielding worth. When the Seabreeze Gallery invited her to exhibit her work, Sarah's show drew a crowd, her paintings radiating life under the gallery's soft lights. Unbeknownst to her, Daniel attended, slipping in quietly with his wife. Standing before a canvas of a golden sunrise over the ocean, a painting that captured the warmth of their old walks, he was overcome. "Mom, you're incredible," he said later, his voice breaking as he embraced her, tears mingling with hers. Their bond began to mend, not because Sarah demanded his return, but because her radiant spirit, her art, her resilience, drew him back. Her paintings now hung in homes across Seabreeze, and a local art class she taught for children became a new source of joy. Sarah had forgiven, but more importantly, she had never let Daniel's absence dim her light. Her worth, like her art, remained vibrant and undeniable. Lesson: forgiveness is a gift that frees your heart, allowing you to heal and move forward with grace. But your worth is yours to define, and by living with purpose and joy, you ensure your light shines undimmed, inspiring others to reconnect with you and reflecting the radiant value you hold within. 8. Build your tribe. Find new companions. Loneliness can settle like a heavy fog when your children's lives pull them into their orbits, but you hold the power to dispel it by weaving a vibrant tapestry of new connections. A social circle, friends who share your laughter, stories, passions, and even your quiet moments, can fill your days with warmth, purpose, and a profound sense of belonging. By building your tribe, you create a life rich with joy, freeing yourself from relying solely on your children for emotional fulfillment. This vibrant independence not only lifts your spirit but also draws your loved ones closer, inspired by the radiant world you've cultivated, reminding them of the dynamic person you've always been. Thomas, an 85-year-old widower, had always been a man of quiet routines, finding comfort in the life he'd built with his late wife, Margaret, in their small New England town of Harborview. Their home, with its sagging porch overlooking a garden of wildflowers, had once been alive with family gatherings, barbecues, board games, and Margaret's famous blueberry pies. But after her passing 3 years ago, the house grew silent, its rooms echoing with absence. Thomas's 2 children, Emily and James, were consumed by their careers, Emily a lawyer in Boston, James a doctor in Portland, and their visits dwindled to hurried holiday stops. The solitude weighed on Thomas, each empty evening stretching like an endless horizon. Determined to reclaim his days, he took a tentative step, spurred by a memory of Margaret's encouragement to find joy in new places. He joined a local chess club at the Harborview Community Center, despite his reserved nature and rusty skills from years of casual games with Margaret. His first visits were daunting, the clatter of chess pieces, the lively debates of younger players, the unfamiliar faces, but the club's warmth enveloped him like a familiar melody. Over steaming cups of coffee in the center's cozy lounge, Thomas shared stories of his youth as a carpenter, his travels with Margaret through Italy, and his love for Ella Fitzgerald's jazz. He found kindred spirits. Clara, a retired teacher who shared his passion for history. Sam, a young musician who brought him new records. And Rose, a widow who taught him to bake her famous apple pie, filling his kitchen with warmth again. Thomas began organizing chess tournaments, his once quiet evenings alive with laughter, strategy, and the clink of mugs. His children noticed the change, a spark in his eyes, a lightness in his voice when he spoke of his chess crew. During a rare visit, Emily, usually rushing to meetings, teased, "Dad, you're busier than I now." Intrigued, she joined him at the club one evening, watching in awe as her father bantered with Sam over a checkmate or shared a story with Clara about a wartime ship he'd helped build. She saw him anew, not just as dad, but as a man of resilience, charm, and community, surrounded by friends who cherished him. James, too, began calling more, asking about the club and even joining a tournament during a visit. Thomas's tribe didn't just fill his days. It reminded his children of the vibrant spirit he'd always carried, drawing them closer without him ever needing to ask. His new friends became a second family, and his home, once silent, buzzed with life again. Chess nights, potlucks, and the soft strains of jazz from his old record player. Lesson: a vibrant social circle is a lifeline, weaving joy, connection, and purpose into your life. By building your Oribe, you create a world of love that sustains you and inspires those around you to seek out your light, enriching your relationships on your terms and reminding the world of the radiant spirit you've always been. As we come to the end of this journey, take a moment to reflect on the wisdom you've gained today. These 8 steps aren't just about mending ties with your children. They're about rediscovering the strength, joy, and dignity that live within you, no matter your age. You've heard stories of seniors who turned pain into purpose, loneliness into connection, and silence into understanding. Now it's your turn. What's one lesson you've learned from this video that you'll carry forward in your life? Maybe it's pausing before reacting, setting a loving boundary, or finding a new spark of purpose. Share that one thing in the comments below. We'd love to hear how you're embracing your timeless worth. If you found this video inspiring, please leave your comment below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more heartfelt insights to guide you through this season of life. Keep shining, and we'll see you in the next video.